All right. Can everybody hear me okay? It's mainly online. I know all you can. Dave, thanks for inviting me to do this, kind of. Um, so he said, tell you guys a little bit about myself, my family, and the club. Um, really easy. Let's start with the most important one in the family, and that's my wife. I've been married 26 years to this wonderful woman. She got her master's degree while 8 months pregnant. Just that gives you a little bit of insight to her drive and ability. She is senior management and facilities at Boeing. Everything Carrie touches kind of turns into gold. So work is stressful for many of us, including her, and she finds projects to relieve that stress. I built a she shed for her, 2 years ago now, and she makes cups, painting. She does paint and sips for friends. Very creative and crafty and incredibly driven. So I'm going to keep it brief on her. She said, don't talk about me too much. I have 3 boys, 22, 18, and 15, soon to be 16. We're teaching him how to drive. My 22-year-old's name's Nolan. He is currently working 2 jobs and going after his master's degree, wants to be an educator. He works construction during the day, comes home, does his online studies, and then he'll head off and coach. Oh, I can back up a little too. He coaches select lacrosse. He was recruited nationally as a lacrosse player, MIT, Colorado, Stanford, all over the place, which was really exciting as a parent until I started to see what some of those college cost. And lacrosse is one of those games that's more of a door opener for athletes than it is a moneymaker. Most lacrosse teams are offered about 2 full ride scholarships per year, and that's it. So with that said, he decided to go to Western because he wanted to be a teacher, and he played college lacrosse up there, and it was awesome. I mean, as a parent, I look out in this room, and when I hear you guys talk about your kids, I can see the pride in your faces. And that's the same as Carrie and I have with our boys. You know, we were very involved in their lives growing up and raising them. And I'll get into that in just a minute. So Nolan is going to be a wonderful teacher. He has many interests, and he is much like his mom. When Nolan wants to do something, I step back and say, okay. And that's pretty much it. There's no advice given anymore unless it's asked for. At 22 years old, it's not my place, even though he lives in my house. He's a very respectful kid. Even now at 22, if he leaves and he's going to be out overnight, I get a text, say, hey, I'm not making it home. And that's great. You know, we as parents, we can sleep. My 18-year-old Ethan, he also was athletic growing up. My wife and I encouraged our kids, if you're going to do something, it's all out. You do it all or nothing. And so Ethan has broken both collarbones, separated both shoulders, twice, broken a wrist, and all this on a snowboard. He's a goer, and he BMX bikes, and we went from lacrosse, and all of a sudden he got an interest in cars. And so, we try to foster those interests. And next thing I know, I've got an old beat up Datsun 280Z sitting in my garage. So that was a huge mistake. It sat there for a year. He got it running and got it going and then sold it because I told him it needed to go. But he's still got a huge interest in that. And he found a friend of his I think he's 21. Anyhow, they're down in Vegas right now at SEMA. And I've gotten pictures left and right from those guys, and they are having a ball. I hope to go there next year. It looks like a tremendous amount of fun. So now we go on to Eddie, my third and youngest. At 15, we were teaching him how to drive right now, which is, it's adding gray hair. I forgot what it was like. Eddie is my musician of the family. He, from a young age, at 2 years old, he could hear a song and he could sing it back after one time. And I never thought anything of it. But my wife came from a very artistic family of 6 kids. There were dancers and other things in the family. And so she kind of encouraged it a little bit. And we got him a guitar when he was 9, I believe, for Christmas. And he kind of taught himself how to play. And next thing you know, it's actually sounding like music. We get him into class, and he's into the acoustical guitar. And he is, oh, wow, it's cool to listen to. So COVID, his teachers, Tom must be 70. Anyway, COVID hit and we went to Zoom classes for guitar, and it was cool. Once a week, Carrie and I could open up a bottle of wine. We'd sit in our room, and Eddie would get on his Zoom class and play music for his teacher. And it was like our own little concert in the house. It was really kind of fun to do. And now he's back in person, of course. So Eddie is self-taught on the piano, self-taught on the harmonica, and does well in school when he applies himself. So he wants to be an engineer, and we'll see how that goes. He unfortunately did 3 days of school, tested positive for COVID. He's my only vaccinated child. The other two decided not to. Tested positive and had to sit out 2 weeks. So now we're playing catch up, and it's been a challenge to say the least. A little bit about my path to where I'm at today as director here at the Boys and Girls Club. So I went 2 years of school after high school and decided college wasn't my gig. And so my dad sat me down and said, great, what are you going to do? My family, very hardworking, blue collar, pipe fitters, welders, builders, very talented. Everything they did was, it was done better than the best. That's just how I was brought up. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I got into the ski industry. I worked at then Everett Ski Shop when I was 18, 19 years old, and it no longer exists, of course. Skied about 100 days a year, traveled all over, testing out equipment for different manufacturers. Really thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I realized that there was no money in it. It was incredibly fun, but there was no money. And so then through that, the great thing that happened through that whole ski industry is I met my wife. We were married, and I got into then the golf industry. I was a sports guy. That's what I like to do. I became assistant pro at Kayak Golf Course before it was disc golf, I think. So, and that was, I loved it. I'd get there at 4 a.m. I'd leave there at 6 p.m, almost every day of the week. And there was nothing more fun. The people are great. I mean, can you imagine going to work every day? Every customer that walks in your door wants to be there with a smile on their face. There's nothing better. And then my wife got pregnant. And so at that point, we had to make a decision. Me working that many hours just wasn't going to be conducive to family life. So I made a switch, and my brother-in-law had been asking me for years to come over and sell insurance for him. He owned a farmer's insurance agency. And I did that. It was fun. We had a good time. I started to build a book of business. Nolan was born, and my mom offered to watch him for 2 years. She made that commitment. Now we offered to pay her, and she took the money. But and so we knew that our first child was going to be, those first 2 years were going to be covered by somebody who had a vested interest in his growth. And so we got to about 1.5 years, and I had 4 months to get my book where I needed it to support the family. And we got to the end, and we were hairline, right? We were right on that bubble. And we knew medical insurance would come into play and all those other things that cost us quite a bit of money just to survive and make our daily bread, per se. So in the end, this was a 30-day decision. And in 26 years, Carrie and I will admit this was our hardest choice. I was the one that stayed home. She stayed at Boeing because of the benefits. She was moving up quickly, making a decent living. But, once I quit, then there was a lot more rice and beans on the plate. We were a young family, up and coming. And so from there, I spent 19 years raising my kids. Something I would never change. I mean, I got to see things and do things and hear things that no other person gets to hear. I mean, when you're a stay-at-home parent, it's total chaos at times, and crazy and entertaining and trying and tiring. And you guys have done it. You're there, you're committed, you got no choice. So through the course of this time, we started a at-home business. And the business was, we printed and created party favors we started with weddings. Weddings at that time, the average wedding cost about $25,000. And that was 20 years ago. I can't even imagine what they cost now. And so our favors were inexpensive. And I had clients back east that were just eating it up. And we got to a point by the time we got to our third child that we had to make a decision. The business had grown to a point where I was getting maybe 2 hours of sleep at night. And I'd have to get up early before the kids got up so I could bang out the work and then take care of the kids and get back to it. And so it was really that point where a lot of businesses get to, where that decision has to be made. Do we spend the money and take this to the next level, hire employees and get space and all those things? But we decided in the end that would create the problem that we tried to avoid in the first place. I would be out of the house again. So how did I get here? We went from that to getting a phone call one day after dropping my oldest son off at college. And it was somebody I met through lacrosse. I met him twice. He said, Chad, I want you to come and run my bar. And I was like, what? And so I said, sure, why not? I got time. It was just down the street. And so it worked out perfect. I jumped in there in the morning. I took care of all the business aspects of it, the brewing of the beer, talked with the brewers. And then middle of the day off, I'd be at my son's school. Then I'd be back in the evening and I'd run the bar and during the busy hour of dinner and all that. And it was a lot of fun. And so John had been in the business for 5 years and he'd broken even every year. I got there three months in, we turned our first profit. 6 months in, we got pretty darn profitable. And a year in, he was really making money. And so John at that time got some really good offers to sell his restaurant and bar. And he did. So that 1 year in, then I'm jobless again. And it was really kind of funny. And so Marcy Vollmer, the CEO of Boys and Girls Club, she knew my wife through the gym. And she said, man, you got to get Chad in to interview for our job here in Snohomish. So I went out there to Snohomish and interviewed for the athletic director job. And they said, well, when can you start? And I said, well, wait, what are the hours? And do I have to work weekends? And they said, yeah, your Saturdays are required. And I said, sorry, not taking it. I ski on Saturdays with my kids, not going to do it. And Leanne here, you guys all know Leanne. She's done this before. Marcy told her about me and I came out and interviewed with Leanne and Leanne hired me on the spot as program director. Then I came and she left. I interviewed for the unit director job once, did not get it. The gentleman that took the job lasted 4 days. And so they had another interview process and I wasn't going to do it. But I set my pride aside and I did it again. And this time the mayor was involved. It was nerve-wracking. I got the job and here I am. So it's really that simple. I mean, 50 years of life that quick, huh? So this club, it's great to see, you got Dave out here. Everybody's seen the changes that we've had over the last 20 months. Let's call it 2 years now. And we're no exception. The Boys and Girls Club operated at a $3.5 million loss last year. We were able to keep our doors open because there were some very frugal people along the way we had a little rainy day fund set aside. So we kept every club open within Snohomish County. There was talk at one time about shutting down a few clubs and keeping like 4 clubs open. Arlington would have been one of them because we're kind of centrally located for a lot of folks up north. But that never came to fruition, which was fantastic for the families that use the club. Now we move into where we're at today, and it's a time of change, I think, for us. Prior to COVID, we annually gave out like about $175,000 in scholarships a year here, just at this club, which is a tremendous amount of money. And our membership base we were 2,500 plus on our membership. Now we're at about 1,200. And we're growing. But out of that 1,200 members, 50% of them are new. We've never seen them. I've got kids in here that I'm still trying to learn names. So we've got new families in the area. I'm sure some of you have seen that. I mean, I'm getting calls daily. Hey, we're moving into Arlington from wherever. We're starting school there. Do you have room? And right now I have to tell them no, because I don't have the staff to drive those kids to and from school, which is really disheartening. I mean, we could put so many more bodies in the building, but we just can't do it because we don't have the bodies to take care of those kids. So as we move forward, this is an opportunity for all of us. I mean, you guys can, you can talk up the Boys and Girls Club for me. That'd be fantastic. Free advertising. I love it. But this is an opportunity for us to change this club. When I talk with most people about the Boys and Girls Club, and I would assume most of you think the same way, it's either sports or childcare. That's not what we are. We are a club. When I was young, Boys and Girls Club, you go hang out, shoot some pool, do your thing, and have fun. So what we're looking at now, especially up here at Arlington, is starting to get people in for specific classes. So let's say it's a STEM class. We'll run a 4, 6, 8-week STEM course, 2 days a week, charge $100. And that mom, dad, whoever can bring their kid in for a couple hours, they can learn and have fun. And we turn it back into this club atmosphere. And that's really myself, since I drive what goes on here, I really want to get us back to that club feeling where people, when you say Boys and Girls Club, yeah, we want to go tonight and have fun. We want to go do this. Right now, our membership is growing daily, and most of that is through sports because we're allowed to do that now. We're still masks on indoors, all outdoor sports, we're masks off, which is really nice for the kids. But the masking up is losing us probably, I'd say 45% of where our number would be if the kids could play without a mask on their face. So who knows what'll happen with that in the near future with vaccinations. I don't know. It seems to change weekly. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Football team, one kid tested positive. Everybody's close contact. They have to quarantine 10 days. They can come back and play a sport. They can't come back in my building for childcare for 14 days. So the confusion and frustration is real when you hear somebody get frustrated about a rule or a regulation. It is legitimate. At this point, people are very frustrated with the changes and the inconsistency. And I see it on a daily basis here with the kids and the parents. And because as soon as their kid has to sit, they have to leave work and then they don't have the money. So I sat my staff down the other day, and I'm very fortunate. I've got the staff I do have are parents, adults. They have that empathy. They understand that 50% of the people that come through our door, they got to make a decision. Do I pay my heating bill or do I put food on the table for my kid? And that's something that, I think you guys here do a fantastic job and know that it's going on in your community and in our community. And it's just, we do so many things for these children to help. All of you and our club in specific will do close drives. We never will let a kid go hungry, ever. If they need food, they're getting food. And if they need a bed, we're going to find a way to make that happen. So it's, and the parents that come here that can pay their bills, they're really cool. They write extra checks. They just drop it off. Give this to a kid. I hear that on a weekly basis, and it's something that I've never had to deal with before, personally, as a boss or as a parent. And it's really, really neat to see a small community like this come together and help all of these kids out, help our club out. We've got a new tractor out there that we mow our lawn with because of you guys. So are there any questions? I kind of flew through that. You don't have to ask some. Oh, Sound
Chad,
of Summit.
You got tons of time left.
I know he said 20 minutes, but I was like, there's no way I'm making it 20 minutes. So yes, Sound of Summit Brewery is what I ran in Snohomish.
Chad, how did your auction go, and how does that fit into your overall budget?
Well, the auction is actually a line in my budget, and thanks for asking. It went really well. We did over $200,000. We are currently today, I looked, what was it? I think we're at 231 now, 232. We're right in that ballpark. So I exceeded my budget line on that, and hit the reach goal, which is really good for my first year. I was glad to see that happen. It took a lot of work and effort. Next year's auction is probably going to get moved up to April 30th. So I'm going to have to start right over and do it again. They're going to move us back to the spring. How it affects our budget, basically, all that money goes into a pot for Snohomish County Boys and Girls Club. the whole organization. Out of that money, they take care of us first. Any of our needs are met, and whatever's left goes on over. So that goes into my wages, that goes into staff, food, lights, anything that you can think of that takes to operate this building, that money goes towards. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. So, yeah, it was asked what I raise here, what we're required to raise here, how's that compared to other clubs in the county? It doesn't. Lake Stevens, Snohomish, many of the other clubs, their budgeted earnings for the year are like 40 grand, 20 grand. The reason that we are where we are is because of this community. And so way back when Bill Kenny started this auction thing, and it kind of grew and grew and grew and took on a face of its own. And Leanne was into it. I mean, she counted it as a game, and she loved trying to, in fact, I think their biggest year was the May the 4th be with you. What was that? Was that 2018, 2019? It was so, the only reason our budget line is that big is because this community is so supportive, and because of what Angel of the Winds does. Angel of the Winds by themselves this year is responsible for over $130,000 in sponsorship donations. Plus they give us the facility, the food, everything. We don't pay for anything. This year I covered gratuity and hotel rooms. That was it. So they are incredibly generous with what they do. We are their one big event a year, and we're very grateful for that. Without them, the auction would be nothing that it is today. So
how many were there?
We were about 140 or so at the auction.
You said staffing is an issue. I'm just curious, are you hiring? Is it a massive hiring thing that you are doing? Like what? I don't really know anything about that.
So for the first time ever in Snohomish County Boys and Girls Club, they actually paid a bunch of money and went out and did a big hiring campaign countywide. That included us. We're not the only club. I mean, we're in good shape compared to some. South Everett, I think they're down to 3 employees. So you can imagine the strain that puts on the staff, and the turnover has been astronomical. We've got Mike Wetmore out at Lake Stevens. He's been with the club about 17 years. I think there's one other director besides Mike that were here before COVID. Everybody else is brand new. So COVID put a huge strain. Well, here, for example, I had 32 people, and the day schools closed, I laid off 27. So, because our numbers went from 80 to 120 a day down to 20 kids. And those 20 kids were only first responders. We let all nurse, doctors, firefighters, police, anybody that was on that front line, because none of us knew what COVID was back then. You know, it was this thing that it was gonna wipe us out, right? So we opened up the doors for all first responders for free. We charged nothing, and we had very minimal staff. Unfortunately, we had very minimal kids too, because we wouldn't have survived either way. So yeah, it was crazy. And now a lot of it has to do with wages. That's another thing about this community. It's grown. Amazon's out there. We've got some big competition as far as wages go. And we can't compete. We just can't. Financially, they have to find a way to turn that around. That's another one of those changes that needs to be made through this whole process. And I push weekly with our administrative office, and I write letters. I do everything I can to try and get them more. And I do things for the staff that, you know, I get creative, like the hotel rooms. Kendall Auto Group got those hotel rooms with their $10,000 sponsorship. They didn't want them. I gave them to my staff. So, you know, it's just an auction expense, right? But the staff had a great time, and they got to stay the night, these families. And so I do whatever I can to keep the people I have. And I know some of them are looking for work. And I told everybody at our last meeting, I said, if you guys want to use me as a reference, do it. Because I want them to, better themselves in any way they can. And if they want to move up, it's my responsibility to make sure they get there. I think any good boss roots for all of their employees to do better and improve and go do what they want to do. But back to the question of hiring, it's just, I'm making calls and not getting calls back.
Does Boys and Girls Club offer incentives like healthcare or anything like that? Just out of curiosity.
Full-time employees, yes. What I've started pitching now, and I've got my site director up at President's putting it out there on Facebook and everywhere else you can, is you get free childcare and free sports. All you got to do is work 2 hours a day and it's free. So that's what we really need right now, are van drivers in the morning to get kids to and from school. And then we can put more kids in here. We've got a waiting list of about 30 kids that they need to come, but we don't have the people to do it.
So for us, other employers out here, so if we get one of our employees to come work 2 hours a day for the Boys and Girls Club, then they could get free childcare and free sports.
Yes, sir.
Ooh,
Ages 5 and up, you have to be registered for school.
I'm excited about that.
So
We're gonna find a whole
Medu-
group of people that
Medu
are
has her
coming.
hand
Boy, I
up.
feel like I could drive 2 hours in the morning.
well, you kind of say that tongue in cheek, but that's really before COVID hit. That's what we had. We had a group of 8 people that all they did was shoot in here in the morning for an hour, drive kids to school, and they come back in the afternoon for an hour and bring kids back. They didn't take care of them at all. They just here and there. They were simply transportation, and their kids came over Christmas break when they had to be at work. They came in to sign up for sports, never paid $1. So yeah, those are the people we need, really.
But I think Madhu had a question. She's online.
Hi, Chad.
Hello.
This was amazing. I mean, I thought I would miss today's session because it's Diwali, our festival of lights. So was busy preparing. But what I heard from you is amazing and incredible. And thank you for doing what you're doing. One of the ideas, I'm into the nonprofit world as well, and I'm actually working with organizations on capacity building. And actually, when we have certain challenges, like just what you were saying, talking about your need, like for wanting those drivers and putting it out there, I think we'll get a lot more people. I can actually connect with you offline, and I can actually help you put that out, because I know there are people out there who want to help.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Yeah, and also like with hiring as well, I have a few ideas, but I'll reach out offline. I just wanted to say thank you for what you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you.